Hello, I'm Robert, and this is my game database management plan. Schlippity bloop. So the purpose of the Game Library Manager, which is the program that I'm working on here, is to retain an array of information about individual games. Right now, it holds the name of the game, the director, the genre, the release date, the original price, current price, discounted price, and a link for the cover art there. Uh, this presentation is designed to create a software implementation plan for broadening this program for varied functionality. It focuses on expanded features, game information, and remote access for multi-user capabilities. So, yeah, I mean, the network can be using a server, that's very important to for a widespread database. So these are some of the required features that we would have to add. Um, we would have to add a game description, uh, multiple user access. So multiple people need to be able to read it at once, sorting to sort out the games based on name or genre or whatever. Uh, partial searches. So if somebody doesn't put the exact name of the game, you should still be able to find them. Expanded entry information. So there's more information that we need to add than just the price and the game and the directory and all that. So things like, you could have the entire staff, you could have more genre information, you could have, more development information, links to other games in the series. That could be important. Uh, yeah, permission management. You need to make sure that not anybody can change any entry. That would be an issue, remote database, like I was saying, and multi-platform functionality. You should be able to access this from, your Linux computer or your Windows computer or maybe your phone. So some of the risks with this project is, changing requirements with games. The important information can change a lot of time. Could be like storefronts change. So what is the price? Where can you find? Maybe it's just on eBay. Maybe they don't sell it digitally. Or, genre names change, things like that. Or new companies come around, Uh, so because of that, you might have to change during development on what features you need to include or how you're going to include it. Uh, database overload. So we're going to have a huge number of entries here. So that could be an issue. It could slow down the program, could make it hard to search or edit. So we need to make sure that everything's working there. And database vandalism, right? So a bad actor going in there and you know editing something that you would rather them not do. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be a bad actor, but it could be, just an issue with uh, data getting damaged or unintentionally deleted by somebody who doesn't mean to to vandalize the database. So some of the ways, that we want to deal with this is with an adaptable team structure. So they can go in there, they can add in additions fast or refactor. That'll help with the changing context of the environment. Creating limits on memory cache and access to the database. Uh, so this can help solve issues with, multiple editing, things like that, or overloading, servers or your computer. Hey, loading up, 100,000 entries at once might cause an issue. Uh, a backup system that'll be very important. Even though it'll might cost more in the hard drive space, it's important to be able to roll back to an old database version or at least separate these guys and have backups of them individually. Uh, so that way, if anything happens, you can always roll back. Nobody can destroy everything. The purpose of the project, right, it's going to need, like I said, you might have to adapt during development. So you do need to have a very adaptable, agile team. So we would need a database programmer, somebody who goes in there and handles the code with the direct access to the database, UI designer, somebody who can make a good graphical user interface, something that people can use, they want to use, and it functions well. A network engineer, somebody who's gonna know a lot about that server clients, what needs to be done there. Yeah. So for testing, we're going to need a server, of course, because you don't know if your server client system is going to work. Once you get a server going, you need multiple computers to ensure multi-access, and then obviously you need the computers for, developing. But I figured that goes without saying. In terms of software resources, the Postgre SQL relational database system is a good database system it's the standard for server clients SQL access. So that's why I went with here. The Spring Boot Java framework is the recommended solution for backend development using Java. The Vaadin Java UI framework. It's also a generally recommended system to use for developing the UI. So those would be good choices. Quality management, for the plan here. The objective, the most important thing is nothing ever crashes. That would be a big issue, right? If there is some kind of huge issue, then you should show up an error message, but the program shouldn't crash. The data integrity, it has to be perfect, because you can't have somebody adding something and that's editing something somewhere else, or there's some unintended, changes going on. That would cause a big issue, and it would snowball very quickly. And then obviously access speeds, I put as less than 200 milliseconds. I know that's a little bit long, but I guess. But I thought, give some leeway there. I know at my job, my system, it takes a second or two to load up a profile. It's ridiculous. But I figured this one's pretty safe. All right, so for the activities that we want to do to prevent these issues would be periodic peer reviews. So anytime there's a huge addition, you should have somebody else look through there to make sure there's multiple levels of quality checks, and multi-level environments. So how would this code affect a small database, a medium-sized database, a large database, ones with all the entries in, someone with some of the entries in, at all levels there. And obviously, what functions, you need to use all the functions at different permission levels. If you're a user, like the lowest level, can they read everything, Can they search everything? Can they sort everything? So for the testing phase, because I would like this one to be done in quick bursts, and then you do a lot of testing. We start with the unit testing. We're going to do this multiple times throughout the project, but we're going to first start with the unit testing, where we go through each feature as we add it. Then we do the integration testing, where we try it as a system, everything we've added together. Make sure that everything plays nice and in different orders and things like that. Then we do load testing, so that'll be important for like sorting or searching. You need to make sure that if you have a huge database, that you can do that efficiently, quickly. So like if you have 100,000 entries and you're sorting it, does it show the user 100,000 entries? Because that'd be an issue, and it would take a long time. And then we have our data verification. So this is just to make sure everything looks good, nothing's getting corrupted, nothing's getting written to that shouldn't be written to. You know what I mean? And if you're reading something, it looks right. That's very important. So for the conclusion here, we have the so really, I mean, the most important thing, the takeaways for this project, and the most important conclusion is, while those other features are really nice to have the description and all that, and you can do that, we're going to need to do that. The most important thing is the data integrity, that we're able to manipulate the data without messing anything up, because if you have a huge library of items, that could take somebody hundreds of thousands. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know, but thousands of hours to build up that database, and then it all goes kaplooey. That wouldn't be very cool, honestly. That would be a massive issue. So that's the number one requirement for this project. So these are some of the resources I used to do some, research. I looked at this, the SQL.org, SQLite.org. They have recommendations for what tools to use to do a server-client relationship. So I used that definitely. The Vaadin. Now Vaadin recommends using Vaadin. So I don't know if that's a little bit biased, but I also did some, I was looking a bit outside of there, just some random posts. I don't know, and it seems to be recommended. And then Moby Games is very similar to what I was working on here. I found it while I was working on this. I thought that was an interesting resource because it's very similar to this project. So that's inspiration that could be important for later.